Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's Friday, March 27th, 2006. Just a little layout of the meeting. I will give a high level of RCAW's grants, trainings, and programs that we offer for family caregivers as well as respite care providers. And then I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker, Ryan Schaefer. And once I get there, then I will do the proper introduction, tell you a little bit about Ryan, and I will get it turned over to him. So without further ado, let's get started. Little housekeeping. If you're able to mute yourself, that would be extremely helpful. Sometimes I'm guilty where I think I'm muted and I'm not, and all of a sudden you hear my dogs barking in the background. So no judgment, but if you could try to ensure that you're muted, it just kind of helps go a little smoother. And the other thing is we are very flexible and laid back. If you want to jump in during the presentation and verbally ask a question, absolutely fine. If you're a little uncomfortable doing that and prefer to save it for the end, it's fine too. Also, my colleague Leslie Feedy, our program manager, is here and monitoring the chat. So if you're more comfortable, basically the most comfortable way that you are to ask a question, do it while we're speaking. Wait till the end, type it in the chat. All of it will be monitored and answered. So let's get started. RCAW, who are we and what do we do? The first thing I want to make a mention of is that we do serve all 72 counties and 11 tribes. Um, Everyone who signed up today is going to get a copy of the presentation. Sometimes a lot of information at the same time might make your head spin. It does for me. So don't feel like you have to retain all of this. You're going to get a copy of the presentation and it will be posted on our website. So RCAW, the easiest way, if you don't know a lot about us, we're twofold. We help family caregivers and connect them to respite care, whether it's funding, we have three different grant programs, or we're connecting them to trained respite care providers who have gone through our National Respite Care Provider Training. We help them. The other side is we know that there is a small pool of respite care agencies. So we also have grant funds that can help individuals start up a respite care program. We have a co-op model, which that's our next webinar next month. So stay tuned for that. So essentially what we do is we help family caregivers and connect them to respite, and we help respite care providers go through trainings. We have free workshops and then have the ability to apply for grant funds to increase options for families for respite care providers. The first thing I'm going to go into, and like I said, this is going to be high level. You're going to get our contact information. So ask questions or feel free to email at the end. But what I wanted to talk about first was our three grant programs that we have to support family caregivers. The first is our Caregiver Respite Grant Program. You can, successful applicants or eligible applicants, I should say, they can apply for up to 5 days of respite care within 30 days of approval, and you can hire the provider of your choice. The nice thing about our grant programs is we are able to knock down as many barriers as possible and remove some red tape. So family caregivers can hire whoever they like. If it's a friend, a family member, a neighbor, if it is someone from an agency coming inside of their home, or depending on the needs of the care recipient in the family, we can also help pay for stays in facilities. Sometimes there's caregivers that their loved one needs to go to a facility, whether it's a adult family home, a community-based residential facility, CBRF, or a SNF, a skilled nursing facility. So we know not every family is the same, and they're not cookie cutters and exactly alike. So there's different needs for each family. So this grant is best for caregivers who need a break right away, caring for their care recipient. The next grant is our supplemental respite grant program. These are This grant, I should say, has allowable expenses that are supplemental respite services. Sometimes there are caregivers of all ages, right? There's a lot of evidence and a lot of information on children under 18, youth caregivers in this country. There's caregivers of all ages caring for care recipients of all different abilities and disabilities. And sometimes families, they don't necessarily need that respite care like I talked about in the caregiver respite grant program, but they're working full time and then they're coming home and they're caring for their loved one full time. So this can help offset housekeeping, laundry, transportation, lawn care, sensory items, and technology. The technology, if you visit the website, it definitely goes deeper on this grant, but it's technology for safety because that respite is peace of mind. So if there's a safety intervention needed, we can help pay for that, as well as technology to decrease isolation. So this is for ongoing support beyond the direct care, like the Caregiver Respite Grant Program. The third grant that I'll talk about that can help family caregivers, it's called Healthy Meals, Healthy Minds. Sometimes, not sometimes, a good amount of time when we're working with caregivers, we hear, I'm working full time, or if they're not working full time, they're retired and an older adult and they're caring for either their adult child or their spouse or partner or whomever. And they're having a hard time keeping up with going grocery shopping and meal planning and making sure that everyone has adequate nutrition. So this grant gives families access to meal kits as well as funding for wellness. There's can offset gym memberships, yoga classes, mental health. And like I said, if you go on the website on this web page, I made sure all the hyperlinks are when you get the PDF, you can click right here. It'll take you to that web page, and it does do a bit of a deeper dive into the allowable expenses. And this helps family caregivers with wellness and nutrition support. So if you've never heard of our grant programs, I'm sure the question, whether you're a caregiver, a provider, a professional that helps family caregivers is, well, how the heck, how do I know if someone's eligible? Essentially, all three of the grants I just talked about are for families who are falling through the cracks. So if they are waiting for services, if they have not yet been able to sign up yet, because we know ADRC staff are busy and maybe they're waiting for that meeting to come to do the screening, the functional screen, or sometimes families have applied and they're not expecting to get services within 30 days. Sometimes families are denied services. Um, a good number of our grant recipients have exhausted their funding with either their long-term care waiver or other caregiver or grant for family caregivers, like the Alzheimer's Family Caregiver Support Program, the National Family Caregiver Support Program. But I do want to make sure I mention, while I'm thinking of it now, we serve care recipients from birth through end of life. So that's the lifespan. So I don't want to give the message, even though the largest population we serve are adults and older adults, I don't want the takeaway to be that's the only population we serve. We do serve children and adults. Let's see, I'm not sure where I left off. Oh, if they need more flexibility. So let's say someone is caring for a child with some sort of intellectual, developmental disability, a physical disability, and they are CLTS, that's Children's Long-Term Support. But one of the allowable expenses, hypothetically, we'll just say is not supplemental, an allowable expense with their supplemental services, or possibly the Healthy Meals, Healthy Minds, well, then they're eligible for that. So they're already signed up, but they need flexibility to get more services. Or if family caregivers are not eligible because they didn't apply because they're not going to qualify. And there's definitely a handful of situations that we run into with that. And we respect the ADRC and the county staff, and we don't want them to have to walk a family through an application knowing they're going to get denied. So if a professional can sign off on the supporting documentation form that they're not eligible, that's why they didn't apply, we can go from there and most likely help them. We also, and I'm doing good on time. Okay, just wanted to make sure I left enough time for our guest speaker. So another, not another, the first training program that I'd like to talk about is the National Respite Care Provider Training. It's free, it's online, individuals can work at their own pace. Um, those are the three best takeaways from it, as well as the information that you're going to learn in the 10 courses. It's for individuals who want to be a volunteer respite care provider, a paid respite care provider. We have individuals who have not provided respite care and they're in the beginning stages of maybe this is the career for me. They take it. We also have people that have been providing respite care for a couple of years take it and they still learn things. So it's free, and you get a certificate of completion for 7 hours. We have we have two kits. So it's knowledge, ideas, and tools. We have a kit for family caregivers and a kit for respite care providers. So if you're a respite care provider, you don't have to take the respite care provider training in order to take these. We recommend taking that first before you take this, but like I said, it's not mandatory. And it gives information on a little bit deeper of a dive on becoming an independent respite care provider, different payer sources in Wisconsin, in different scenarios, how to be a sole proprietor if you don't want to work for an agency and work for yourself. And also, we developed how to market yourself as a respite care provider. One of the hardest things to hear is there's a provider, they have availability, and we know there's such a need for them. They'll take the National Respite Care Provider Training, they'll get listed on the registry and they say, well, I'm not getting calls. And it's like, oh my goodness. We wanted to give them tools to how to market themselves as a respite care provider as well. Same, not same course, but same idea. The kit, knowledge, ideas, and tools for family caregivers, Respite 101, and how to hire, train, and retain respite care providers, because we don't want to assume that families automatically know how to do these things. So we wanted to give resources. And the thing I wanted to add before I go on to the next thing is for both of these, the kit for providers and the kit for family caregivers, you absolutely can take it in the traditional sense that it's an online course, free, work at your own pace. However, we know that especially family caregivers don't always have the time, energy, mental capacity at the end of their day to take a course. So we exported the information that's most important, interview questions, how to run a background check, etc., and listed those on the website also. So family caregivers can choose to go through the course or go to the website, grab the PDFs, and kind of go from there. When I was talking about the registry a second ago, essentially what it is it's a bridge to connect individuals that provide respite care to families who need them. I want to be clear that if someone goes through the National Respite Care Provider Training, that doesn't mean that we employ them. These are all consumer-based resources that are free. So these are individuals that we don't employ. So they're not, I keep saying employed, they're not employed by us, but they're available to provide respite care. And it's up to the family caregiver to reach out to them, to connect. I can show you what a profile could look like. So there's all of the contact information, and it's up to the family caregiver to reach out, coordinate a time to meet, to interview, and as well as run background checks and see if it's a good fit for the family. Let's see. Before I go on to turning it over to Ryan, I did want to make sure I mentioned that we have a small staff. We're a nonprofit, and it's really great when professionals, agencies, if they want to order our marketing materials for free, we cover the cost of mailing it to you. And we have found a lot of success, or individuals have found success putting one or all of our marketing materials in their lobbies and their buildings, agencies, whatever the environment looks like. And that helps us spread the RCAW word and everything that we offer across the state. So feel free to order. We also have them available in Spanish. There is a cap at 25. So if you wanted to get the About Us, the RAC card and free training courses, the Respite Registry, grants for family caregivers, there is a max of 25 each per order. We do have to ensure we're staying within our budget. And that's not to say that you can't come back if you've gone through them and order more. But I just wanted to mention it's 25 max and you can order all of them. Here is how to get a hold of us. And feel free. I'm sure Leslie's been monitoring the chat, but I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Ryan. I will introduce him. But before we do that, does anyone have any questions before we keep going? All right. Sounds good. Well, I want to welcome Ryan Schaefer. He is a third generation caregiver. He's been working in the human service field for over 13 years, I think you said. He's a graduate of Western Illinois University with a bachelor's in psychology, and he really believes in person-centered care and teaching the next generation that it's crucial in creating a newer way to make a better field for people who want to provide respite care. So without further ado, Ryan, I want to turn it over to you. But first, um, I just want to let everyone know that Ryan did successfully go through our Bringing Respite to Your Community workshop, which is also available on our website. So we're going to ask him some questions about that. And then he went on and applied for a startup grant, which is for people who want to increase respite hours that they're providing, or if they have a new business idea. So welcome, Ryan. Thank you for your time. And first, do you want to tell us about your experience in bringing respite to your community and what that was like as a learner?
Absolutely. The first thing that we did was we looked at the needs of our community. And when we saw a pretty big gap in the amount of individuals that were looking for respite care, we're not the biggest county, but there's a big need. And as we did some research, we came across the RCAW and we saw how um, bringing respite to the community was an option. So we looked at it and we thought this is a great way to see how respite is viewed in other agencies as well as how we view it and how we could combine those to create something meaningful and purposeful for the individuals that we serve.
Awesome. So I think you just told us your biggest takeaways from it, but what would you say your favorite thing or any kind of aha moment that you had taking it of something that you didn't know before and you were like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad this was included in the workshop and then I learned this."
I am a huge proponent of doing the very best care we have and making sure that we cater it to the individual needs of the individuals that we work with. And
Mm.
what I saw in the training, I couldn't have been any more pleased because as you're going through and you're learning all the different aspects of the respite care and how you take the potential for an entire respite network, so to speak, because that's the way I view this. And you combine those elements that you may not have thought of because as respite care providers, we're thinking it's second nature. We know this, we've got this. And then when you start seeing, well, that's cool. I never even thought of that. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was a couple of takeaways that I had was the alignment of really focusing on the needs of the individuals
Yeah.
and being able to see an alternative perspective. We never
Okay.
want to be tunnel vision. We always love those new opportunities to expand. And it was great to see different perspectives come in a collective, so to speak.
Love it. So you did say you are not in the biggest county, and I just want to verify you're in Walworth County, right?
Correct.
Okay, so southern part of the state.
Yep.
Awesome. Were you going to say something? I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, I was just going to say we're down in the corner.
Tiny but mighty. I love it.
Right.
Okay, so a lot of people go through bringing respite to your community, and to successfully complete that workshop, you have to go and present your business plan to Val Madsen, someone
Mhm.
that we consult with, who actually designed bring. She is a subject matter expert with respite businesses, different respite models, etc. So you go through bringing respite to your community, you do your final business plan to Vail, you get your certificate of completion. Now you're like, oh my gosh, there's a startup grant up to $25,000. You know it's highly competitive and you still went for it. So, what advice would you give individuals or anyone on the call or watching the recording, how to write a strong application, and how to set your application up for the best level of success?
I think the biggest thing, it's really understanding the need.
Okay.
Looking at it in terms of our county in particular, um, there was a need. We had
Mm.
families, and you kind of touched on this earlier, that have young adult children, and they're older and they could thoroughly benefit from that break. So we were doing our research and we saw that we have all this opportunity to create something special. We see that families are on waiting lists for 2, 3 years at a time. What can we do? And that's when we started thinking about, okay, so we have this vision, we understand the need. What are we going to do to continue to grow it? We started thinking about, are we in a position where the skills we have are going to give us the best product? And as we evaluated that, that's when we started doing the research and came across the RCAW, the trainings. And that
Okay.
goes back to that understanding multiple perspectives. Are we ready to take this to the next level? Or is there something that we can take and utilize that maybe was missing? Right back to that understanding the need. So I would
Okay.
say that's the biggest thing, is always being in tune with your entire program area. Understanding, is this something that we can do and make successful?
Yeah. All right. Did you do a formal like a needs analysis, or that can like scare, like just hearing needs analysis could scare someone off, but how did you do the needs analysis? Was it as frightening as those words may sound? And do you think having a needs analysis set you ahead of other applicants?
We did the needs analysis. We reached out to our county. We reached out to the local ADRC, the different agencies that work with adults with disabilities and older adults. And we wanted to look through any survey information. We wanted to look through any demographics that could give us the knowledge of how we can bring this into a reality.
Okay.
Yes, it is scary when you hear the words needs analysis, because it's
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, that's way up here. But
Uh-huh.
when you break it down, it's not scary. It's taking that step back and looking at it in terms of, okay, we've got this data that shows there's a need.
Mhm.
thinking of it rationally, thinking of it logically, what do we have to do to help meet that need? Started thinking about transportation, started thinking about projection. Is there enough need in the community to warrant this?
Yeah. And when you have that, when the grant reviewers are looking at it and you have that cold hard data from the needs analysis, it definitely sets you sets you ahead. I did want to Leslie, I did see you're communicating with, I think, Mackenzie, and she had a question.
Yes, she did. Mackenzie would like to know, um, when did your program start? And can you share a little bit of information about your growth within the program?
Absolutely. We became a 501c3 in December of 24. We began actual programming in July of 25, and we started with one individual doing some in home. And then we shifted our focus going back to that needs analysis of, okay, we see the need in the in home, but is there also need in other areas? So when we did that, we saw that there's a lot of people that are, for lack of a better term, at home on the couch. Okay.
Okay.
And when we saw that, it was, can we make something that creates that social aspect?
Mhm.
We started doing our social respite. As we've developed that and creating these meaningful community based ventures, we've seen a growth from one, I never like to say client, but one individual that we serve. And we actually got up to 14 with between 8 and 9 being the consistent. There's always going to be
Okay.
that flexibility, but
Yeah.
when you do those little shifts, you can see the growth
Yeah. So you went from 1 to 14 in not that long of a time.
very quickly.
So that shows you the need, right? There's absolutely a need. I just want to make sure we answered when did your program start, and can you share a little bit of the growth of your program, which you did? Um, okay, great. Are there any other questions before I ask more questions?
Ryan, I have a question. What does your staff look like? Do you have a lot of turnover? What do you see staff wise?
We have, this is going to shock some people. Our community based social respite programming is completely volunteer.
Really?
I am
Wow.
one, and I have a few volunteers that come along, and our goal is to model and explore different interests, different motivations, volunteering efforts, and showing them the interactions within the community that builds lasting relationships.
Okay. Wow. Love it. Um, let's see. I know I had more questions. So, what ages do you serve? Do you have a cap? It's like 23 and under. I don't know why I picked the number 23. Or are you able to serve um, who's your clientele or your individuals?
We work with 18 and above. We are
Okay.
an adult based program. There are, and we all know this as providers, there are scarce opportunities for a lot of our folks. And unfortunately, at times there's even less for the adults.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So we wanted to do the best we could to provide something for 18 and above.
Okay. Mackenzie coming in hot with the good questions. Thank you, Mackenzie. Mackenzie asked, is there a specific reason you went the nonprofit route versus for profit and like a limited liability LLC?
What I would say is we wanted to go nonprofit because it's just in our opinion, when you're doing nonprofit and you have to constantly juggle the revenue and the things like that, the tax exempt status helps out a lot. So when
Okay.
you're doing overhead costs for supplies or anything like that, it doesn't sound like a lot, but every little bit counts, especially when
Hmm.
you're a startup.
Yeah.
It's shocking how much overhead there can be in running a type of a program.
Hmm. Yeah. Do you have a wait list for individuals now, or how if two families were to hypothetically call you next week, how soon are you able to serve people if they're appropriate, the age that you serve, etc.?
The advantage we have is I've been doing this, as you said, for quite a while, and I've
Yeah.
made a lot of connections, a lot of people that share the vision and the mission that we try to serve.
Mhm.
And if two people called me next week, I would be able to reach out to another one of my volunteers and say, we've got an opportunity to bring in two more people.
Mhm.
What do you think? And chances are, and I don't want to jinx myself, but it's we have very good luck when it comes to the response. Not to say
Awesome.
it's not always perfect, because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
always the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what would you say to someone who's either on the call or if they are watching the recording, if they're like, do I do this or not? I'm a little nervous. Or what words of advice or encouragement would you have for people?
Never say never. That is
Okay.
my absolute favorite thing to tell people. The only thing that's going to hold us back is if we say, I just can't. What we
Okay.
do is all about benefiting someone else. So when you reach out to us and you say, I'm a little nervous, trying to build connections with, because in the beginning you're strangers, and I have to trust you.
Mhm.
Trust is not something that's given, it's something that's earned. And I will tell families, I'm giving you an opportunity to build trust with me. Are you
Yeah.
willing to do the same?
Yeah. That is some great advice. So, I'm sure more questions will come to people, come as we go. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to take this opportunity, if it's okay with everyone, to show you more information on bringing respite to your community, because that really is the first step. That's the first step that Ryan started, and any individual that's ever applied for our startup grant. So, bringing respite to your community, I'm almost certain I said this, but it's free and you can work at your own pace. We do recommend that individuals take about 6 weeks to do it. It's not mandatory, but it's kind of broken into six. I guess the content you could say is broken into several topics, and there is some homework assignments and busy work you'll have because there's a lot to learn. And then you would sign up once you complete that. You sign up and you get in touch with Val Madsen, the creator of Bringing Respite to Your Community, you contract with her, and you meet with her. Then, if you wanted, and I will be sure to include more information about bringing respite to your community as well as the startup grant in the presentation before I send it out to everyone, and it will be available, like I said, on our website. But this is the startup grant. So there are two application windows that individuals can apply for. It's December 15th, excuse me, December 1st to December 15th or June 1st to June 15th. So that Ryan, it may have, this has changed since you went through and applied, but now we have two application windows. Before it was year round, anyone could apply at any time. And then we had, we did a lot of lessons learned with this grant. So it is best when we have a 2-week window where the application is open, then there's a due date, and then there are awards announced and funds are distributed. All of that information is on the page, on the web page. Let's see, I did highlight some other applicants on the page. It's kind of nice to, if you're just starting to read what other people did, you can kind of see yourself in their shoes a bit more and maybe get some ideas from that. And then on the startup grant page, there are steps to apply. And we do want to make a mention that this can be an overwhelming process. These are federal funds that we use. So we, of course, are good stewards with those funds. And we can answer questions, but what we do for one, we must do for all. So don't be shy if anyone has a question on the startup grant. Val is equipped to answer those questions, but she also works with individuals on how to do a strong application. Sometimes individuals might not have that experience of writing grant applications. Some applicants, they have a professional grant writer that they can contract with that writes the application. Now, I do want to say that it is apparent to the review committee when going through the startup grant applications, like this was written by a professional, so that doesn't automatically make them, top tier winner, because not everyone has access to a professional grant writer. So we just really encourage people to go through the training course and really think about it. Think about it, meaning applying for a startup grant and expanding respite care in your community. I want to see. I don't think there are anyone. So Leslie did put the link to Ryan's organization, Discovering Pathways, and also put the link in the chat for bringing respite to your community. So if you signed up for today, you'll get a follow-up email from us. I want to say today, but I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So most likely today, but it could be by close of business on Monday. You'll get that information. And Ryan, I really just want to thank you for taking time out of your day to be here and to show everyone what is possible.
Thank you. I would, as a quick word of advice, when you're doing these applications and you're writing these grants, be open. Reread it, get people's feedback. Don't feel like you have to do it all in one sitting because it takes quite a bit of time and effort.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. Don't rush it and get as many proofreaders as you can. Absolutely. Well, thank you once again for your time, Leslie. Thank you for being our moderator. Anyone who was able to come today, thank you for coming and listening. And we understand there were more people that registered, but things happened and they weren't able to come. And we'll still send them the information from today, including the recording and the link to the presentation. So thank you, everyone. Happy Friday. And we hope you have a great weekend and you stay in touch. Take care.